Let me tell you something that's going to shake you. You don't rise by responding. You rise by not needing to. That's real power. Real power doesn't scream. It doesn't beg. It doesn't explain itself to people who never built anything, never sacrificed, never stood in the fire. Real power builds, moves, and walks with destiny. And destiny doesn't negotiate with doubt. They tried it. They tried everything. The media, the games, the fake smiles, the whispers. You know what I'm talking about? The speeches that sounded good but meant nothing. A lot of talk, smooth, pretty words. But when it came time to stand, when it came time to lead, they folded. They looked the part, but they weren't built for the part. Now, here's the truth. They don't want you to know. I didn't need to clap back. I didn't need to go low. I didn't need to beg for approval from the same people who were busy selling out your future. When they pushed, I stood. When they mocked, I built. When they lied, I just kept winning because I wasn't playing their game. I was on assignment. When you're chosen, when you're called, when heaven has placed a mark on your life, earthly attacks are just noise. And noise doesn't move truth. Noise doesn't shake destiny. See, when you're anchored in truth, you don't flinch. When your vision is divine, distractions look like dust. They wanted emotion. They wanted a meltdown. They wanted me to panic. But I don't answer to that. I don't serve fear. I don't follow the crowd. I lead it. They thought a few slick lines would break me. They thought popularity contests could replace purpose. But I was never running for applause. I was running with a mantle, and mantles are not voted on. They're given by something higher. Something real. He said a lot. Oh, he said a lot. Oh, he said a lot. Thought he was clever, thought he was in control. But control is not about words, it's about weight. And he never had the weight, never carried the burden, never felt the pressure that makes diamonds out of warriors. I didn't respond because I didn't need to. I don't wrestle with shadows when I walk in the light. I don't chase down every lie when the truth is sitting in full view. I don't fight battles that are already beneath my calling. Let them talk, let them post, let them laugh. And while they're laughing, I'm building. While they're sleeping, I'm planning. While they're doubting, I'm becoming. They regret it now, not because I yelled, not because I fought dirty, but because I stayed focused, because I kept winning, because I outlasted the noise. And when the smoke cleared, all that was left was truth, strong, steady, and unmoved. That's what you do. You rise above it. You stay grounded in your vision. And you let purpose be your defense, because when you know who you are, you don't chase claps. You command respect, not by force, but by results. You never need to fight small battles when you know you're built for something bigger. That's the difference between those who react and those who rule. Small battles are designed to distract the powerful. They bait you into wasting your strength on arguments that don't matter, on people who never mattered, and on opinions that vanish the moment real results show up. When you're walking toward a mountain, you don't stop to kick every pebble on the path. You don't pause to explain yourself to critics who've never walked in your shoes. You're too focused. You're too chosen. You're too called. Weak people need to respond to everything because they need validation. They need to be seen. But when you carry true purpose, your silence speaks louder than their noise. You don't lower yourself to prove you're strong. You elevate by showing you don't need to prove anything. The world respects focus. The world respects discipline. And more than anything, the world bows to undeniable success. That's the real answer. That's the real clapback. Winning, not whining. Results, not reaction. The moment you recognize the weight of your mission, you'll start seeing distractions for what they are, tests to see if you're still hungry enough to rise or too emotional to stay on course. Your assignment is too great to let petty offenses detour you, and the people trying to pull you into drama, they're just hoping you forget how close you are to greatness. So let them swing, let them shout, let them doubt. You were never here to prove them wrong. You were here to fulfill something much bigger than them. And when you know that, deep in your spirit, you rise, walk, and conquer like you never even heard the noise. Emotional detachment is not weakness, it's clarity. It means you've grown beyond the need to be understood by everyone, beyond the need to react to everything. It's not coldness, it's not apathy, it's power under control. When you're detached emotionally, you're not denying your feelings, you're mastering them. You're not suppressing your emotions, you're choosing where to invest them. And that choice is everything, because if you let every offense shake you, if you let every critic define you, if you let every emotion lead you, you lose direction, you lose focus, you lose ground. Detachment allows you to see with precision. You're no longer reacting out of fear, insecurity, or ego. You're responding, if necessary, from a place of strength, wisdom, and purpose. Most people are chasing approval, clinging to reactions, addicted to being seen. But when you detach, you stop needing the noise. You stop chasing applause. You stop explaining your every move to people who've never earned a seat at your table. The world calls it distance, but the wise know it's protection. Protection of your energy, protection of your peace, protection of your destiny. Because not everything deserves access to your spirit. Not every battle deserves your fire. And not every emotion deserves to be followed. You become dangerous when you no longer take things personally. That's when the game changes. That's when you start moving in silence and striking with impact. That's when people wonder how you stay calm while everything around you shakes. It's because you're not led by emotions, you're led by vision. This isn't about being numb. It's about being focused. It's about recognizing that your mission can't afford emotional instability. And when you get that, really get that, you become unshakable. You become the one who walks in storms with stillness. And that stillness, that's real power. When you're called for greatness, distractions come dressed as drama, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. The moment you step into your purpose, the noise gets louder, not because it has power, but because your presence disturbs comfort zones. You threaten small minds just by walking in alignment. And so they come jealousy, confusion, gossip, petty attacks, all dressed as problems you didn't ask for. But don't be fooled. That's not life falling apart. That's life testing your focus. Drama is the enemy of destiny. It steals time, drains energy, and blurs vision. It wants you to stop building and start reacting. It wants you off your assignment and caught in emotional loops that lead nowhere. And here's the truth. Most of the drama isn't even about you. It's about how others feel when they see you rising. They see you doing what they were too afraid to try. They see your strength and it exposes their excuses. So they stir things up to pull you back into the mud. But when you know who you are, when you know what you're called to build, you stop entertaining what's beneath your purpose. You stop answering the noise. You stop attending emotional battles that have nothing to do with your calling. That's not arrogance. That's maturity. That's elevation. You weren't chosen to react, you were chosen to lead, and leaders don't chase conflict. Leaders walk through fire with focus. You don't need to prove yourself to people who are still fighting shadows. Let them talk, let them plot, stay locked in. Because the enemy doesn't send distractions when you're irrelevant, he sends them when you're dangerous. Drama is noise, purpose is silence, and silence builds empires while the noise burns itself out. Stay focused. Confidence is silent. Power doesn't panic. Greatness doesn't flinch. When you carry real authority, you don't need to announce it. You embody it. The loudest people in the room are often the most insecure. They're shouting to prove something they don't believe themselves. But when you know, when you've done the work, walked through the fire, and built yourself from the inside out, you don't need to explain. Your presence speaks. Your decisions speak. Your results speak. There's a stillness and real strength that doesn't get rattled. It doesn't chase validation. It doesn't need to dominate the room with noise because it already owns the room with substance. Confidence is not bravado. It's not a mask. It's the calm assurance that no matter what comes, you're built for it. It's the understanding that storms don't shake trees with deep roots. And when you're deeply rooted in purpose, criticism sounds like background static. You hear it, but it doesn't move you. People mistake silence for weakness because they don't understand discipline. They think calmness means surrender, but in reality, it's the exact opposite. Silence is strategy, it's vision, it's restraint, it's the decision to win through movement, not emotion. A confident soul doesn't need to match chaos with more chaos. It responds with focus. The world is drawn to those who remain still while everything else is shaking. That's magnetic, that's unshakable. And it only comes from within. You can't fake it. You can't pretend it. You either have that foundation or you don't. So the next time the world tries to pull you into panic, remember, don't flinch, don't shout, don't chase. Let your silence carry the weight of your purpose. Because when you're truly powerful, your stillness becomes the loudest sound in the room. People who throw stones from the sidelines are never in the arena. They're not building, they're not sacrificing, and they're certainly not bleeding for anything that matters. They're watchers, spectators, commentators of a game they were never brave enough to play. And because they lack the courage to step into the ring, they make a sport out of criticizing those who do. But here's the truth. If they had the strength, the vision, the discipline, or the fire, they wouldn't have time to throw stones. They'd be too busy building something of their own. It's easy to talk from the shadows. It's easy to mock from the safety of the crowd. But none of that holds weight, because the ones who are in the arena, the ones who are showing up, risking their name, putting their soul on the line, those are the ones who define history, the ones who carry the scars, the sweat, the burden. And when you're one of them, you stop wasting energy on those who've never been in the fight. Critics don't need accuracy. They just need volume. They're not looking for truth. They're looking for reaction. But you're not called to react. You're called to rise. You're not here to entertain the insecure. You're here to execute your assignment. And that assignment is too heavy, too holy, too destined for you to be distracted by voices that have never paid the price. So when the stones come, and they will, don't throw them back. Build with them. Build higher. Build stronger. Let the spectators watch. Let the cowards comment. They don't get to decide your worth. They don't get to shape your story. Only the ones in the arena, the ones with skin in the game, the ones who dare to lose. It's their voices that matter. The rest is just noise. They mock what they cannot understand, and they fear what they cannot control. That's how it works. When your vision is bigger than their comprehension, their first response is laughter. When your boldness confronts their comfort, they label it arrogance. When your confidence challenges their insecurity, they call it delusion. But they don't really hate you. They hate what you represent. You remind them of what they could have done. You awakened a part of them that gave up, settled, or never dared to try. The moment you start rising, the mockery begins. Not because you're wrong, but because your light exposes the darkness they've been hiding in. You become a mirror, and they don't like what they see. So they try to distort the reflection. They twist your words, misread your silence, exaggerate your mistakes, all to reduce what they can't control. Because if they can make you look foolish, they can stay comfortable in their smallness. But when you stand, when you don't flinch, when you keep moving regardless of the noise, they start to panic. Control is an illusion they cling to. And when they realize they can't manipulate your spirit, your focus, or your direction, their fear turns into attack. Understand this, fear never comes from a place of power. It comes from the realization that they have none over you. You become unpredictable, unshakable, unreachable by their tactics. So don't take their mockery personally. It's not a verdict, it's a compliment. It means you've stepped into something they can't categorize. It means you're walking in a realm that intimidates their mediocrity. Keep going. Don't dim down. Don't explain. Don't shrink to make others feel safe. They will always mock what they don't understand, and they will always fear what they can't control. Let them, and keep rising. Purpose gives peace. When you know why you're here, their opinions don't matter, their noise, their gossip, their judgment. It all fades into the background, because when you're locked in on your assignment, you're not looking around for approval. You're looking ahead, driven by something bigger than ego, deeper than applause. Purpose becomes the compass. It becomes the stabilizer, the anchor. And no matter how fierce the storm gets, you don't drift, you don't bend, you don't break, because you're not operating on emotions, you're operating on mission. People without purpose are easily distracted. They're easily offended, easily shaken, easily led astray. But when you're walking in purpose, you stop reacting to everything. You stop attending arguments that aren't worthy of your calling. You stop defending yourself to people who were never qualified to understand you in the first place. That's the peace. Not passivity, powerful peace. A peace that says, I don't need to respond to this because I know who I am and I know where I'm going. That kind of peace can't be bought. It's earned through clarity. It's forged in obedience to what you were born to do. And once you find it, once you taste it, nothing else satisfies. Not attention, not praise, not acceptance, just purpose, real purpose. Purpose that speaks louder than insults, lasts longer than trends, and stands stronger than critics. So when they come, and they will come with their opinions, their mockery, their disbelief, let them You're not here for their comfort. You're here for your calling. The more deeply you know your why, the less you'll be moved by their noise. Because purpose doesn't scream. It doesn't panic. It doesn't beg. It just moves. It builds. It leads. And it wins quietly, completely, and without permission. You don't need to clap back at every insult when the scoreboard proves you already won. That's the difference between chasing validation and walking in victory. When you're truly winning, when your life, your work, your purpose are producing results, the loudest response you can ever give is your success. And not the kind of success that needs to be posted or proven, but the kind that speaks for itself. The kind that shifts atmosphere, the kind that makes even your enemies go quiet when you walk in the room. Every insult is a trap. It's bait designed to pull you off your path and into a fight that doesn't deserve your energy. Because the moment you respond to every critic, you're no longer leading, you're reacting, and reaction is not leadership. Leadership is silence with strategy. It's grace under pressure. It's refusing to descend just because someone shouted from below. You can't clap back when your hands are busy building. And the ones who are building don't have time to argue with people who are just watching. Every time you rise, there will be voices trying to drag you back down. But those voices aren't proof that you're failing. They're confirmation that you're rising. The higher you go, the louder they get. But here's the truth. They don't hate you. They hate that you remind them of what they never finished, what they never became. So let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them throw their little stones. You don't have to defend yourself when the fruit is undeniable. Let your life preach. Let your results roar. Let your consistency shame the chaos. Because when the scoreboard is full of wins, your silence becomes your loudest statement. And that silence, that's what real victory sounds like. Those who stay emotionally grounded become immovable forces of destiny. They're not led by opinions. They're not swayed by moods. They don't panic in storms or celebrate too early and calm. They walk steady, anchored, focused, unshaken, because when your emotions are under control, your life becomes unshakable. And in a world that thrives on reaction, that kind of stability is rare. It's not just strength, it's mastery. Emotions are real, but they're not meant to be leaders. They're signals, not steering wheels. And when you let them lead, they take you places purpose never intended. But when you master your emotions, you become a problem the world can't solve. You can be attacked and stay calm, lied about and stay silent, betrayed and stay kind, because you're not moved by what's happening around you. You're moved by what's rooted inside you. Emotional grounding means you've settled the battles within, so the wars outside no longer have power over you. You don't chase validation because you're already whole. You don't seek revenge because you're already ahead. You don't waste time reacting to chaos because your steps are ordered by something greater than conflict. And that composure, it confuses people. It intimidates them. Because most expect a breakdown. They expect you to retaliate, to fall apart, to clap back. But instead you rise in silence, you build without noise, you conquer without theatrics. In a world that praises loudness, emotional stability becomes your superpower. You become the steady voice in the storm, the calm in the conflict, the leader when everyone else is losing their head. And that level of control doesn't make you passive. It makes you unstoppable, because emotional grounding isn't weakness, it's the birthplace of unshakable destiny. When they lie about you, twist your words and try to erase your name, smile. That means you've already won. They don't lie about nobodies. They don't waste time twisting the words of people who have no influence. The attacks are not proof of your failure, they're proof of your impact. You've become too real, too bold, too unshakable for them to ignore. So they fabricate stories, distort your truth, and do everything they can to reduce what they can't control. That's fear in disguise, and when you see it for what it is, you stop taking it personally. The moment you step into visibility, the lies come, the slander shows up, and the world watches to see how you'll respond. But the greatest leaders, the true visionaries, they don't chase rumors, they don't argue with the bitter, they don't beg to be understood. They keep moving, keep building, and let the noise collapse under the weight of truth. You see, the lie has speed, but the truth has endurance. Let them race ahead. Let them shout. Because when the dust settles, truth always stands. Always. And while they're wasting energy spinning narratives, You're stacking wins. You're creating legacy. You're living the very life they said was impossible for you. There's nothing more threatening to small minds than someone who refuses to be broken. So they try to assassinate your character when they can't touch your calling. But your job is not to convince them. Your job is to stay aligned, to stay elevated, to keep showing up with excellence over and over again. Because the moment you stop reacting, you take away their only weapon, your attention. Let them lie, let them twist, just smile. Not because it didn't hurt, but because it didn't stop you. That smile, that's your victory. You don't rise by reacting, you rise by knowing who you are, knowing what you carry, knowing that no lie, no insult, no distraction can cancel what's already been written over your life. That's the power of spiritual clarity. That's the force of divine purpose. When you're anchored in truth, when you're emotionally grounded, when you move in silence and lead with vision, nothing can stop you. They'll mock, they'll twist, they'll doubt, but your legacy will outlive their noise. Not because you fought every battle, but because you refused to descend to the level of those who never left the sidelines. You stayed focused, you stayed strong, and you built something they said was impossible. Let the world throw shadows, let them plot in the dark. You carry light, you carry destiny, you carry a calling too heavy for shallow opinions. And when you walk like that, with that kind of fire in your soul, with that kind of stillness in your spirit, you don't just survive, you dominate quietly, completely, without apology. So keep rising, keep building, keep winning, because in the end, truth always speaks louder than noise, and greatness needs no defense.